on this episode of the People of Pearland Podcast.
Sure.
But Joe and I thought maybe we just take this episode to peel the People of Pearland Podcast pineapple open a little bit. I was going for alliteration there.
I'm surprised you didn't fumble on that. That was.
Stay tuned for more. 1, 2. Mic check. 1, 2.
Okay, cool.
Happy holidays.
It is that time.
It isn't. It is it.
It is it.
Is it now?
All right. We're good.
All right. Welcome everybody to this very special holiday episode of the People of Pearland Podcast. This one's going to be a little different because we realized we're on our 12th episode now, a full year of doing the People of Pearland Podcast. Yeah. And we realized we just jumped right into it and never bothered to explain why we were doing this thing.
Other than our intros, I guess you're right. Like
I kind of teased it a little bit.
We really did just kind of jump in. And I've always had the thought that there would be some sort of introductory episode, but
no.
We just got people in the chair and just kind of went, which isn't a bad thing. I'm not mad about it.
No, so. I'm very pleased with how the format has worked, the idea for it, and the people that we've gotten to meet. Frankly,
yeah, for sure.
But Joe and I thought maybe we just take this episode to peel the People of Pearland Podcast pineapple open a little bit. I was going for alliteration there.
I'm surprised you didn't fumble on that. That was really good.
We'll peel this back a little bit and offer some insight into why this is even a thing,
right?
For everybody, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So, Joe, why do we do this? How did we come up with this idea?
I've always had the idea of some sort of podcast. I just never knew what the angle was going to be. And I feel like we brought it up in meetings multiple times and it kept getting talked about and we revisit it. And then I think we just really kind of stripped it down and said, let it just be the people. Like, no.
Which is kind of why we just jumped into it.
Right. Yeah.
I mean.
So, I mean, I can say the first two guests that we had were in the same day and it was kind of on a whim.
Yeah.
And I think
we just snagged Dante like, hey, you're here.
Right. Yeah. And same with Hasso. And so I think we were surprised with how well those conversations went.
Yeah.
That it just kept leading into more.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so once we got through those first two episodes, we realized no script, no real plan.
Yeah.
We're just going to try to get this honest point of view. Right. And I think it's worked out in its favor.
I think it has too. Your phone just dinged.
Sorry.
Oh, it's dinging again.
It's
got to be the wife.
Sure is. Yep.
Oops. Hi, Katie. Oh crap! I forgot what I was saying. Yeah. Oh, I know what I was gonna say. You're absolutely right. Like that idea of a different type of format. Us being a communications team, right? We know that how we deliver the information is less important than delivering the right information. Right. So whether it's a video or a website or a podcast, I was always had a little bit of trepidation about podcasts because I felt like there's that bandwagon and it exploded during the pandemic time when
everyone was
everybody
home.
was sitting, right. And I didn't want to be another one of those like we're doing a podcast because everybody's doing a podcast.
Agreed. Yeah.
I don't like the idea of content for content's sake.
Yep.
Right. Or trying to keep up with trends for the sake of the trend.
Right.
If it furthers our objective, right, to connect our audiences, the external, residents of the community, the employees that work here with valuable information, things they need to know about, then I'm all for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I too have been very pleased with, how this platform works and how, what we've gotten to learn about. I've learned more about the jobs that people do from this podcast than most of the other ways of gathering information.
Yeah, for sure.
This is the only format where we really get to sit down and just ask questions, open-ended questions, and have nice and long, drawn-out conversations.
Right.
We don't have anything else that really does that.
Right. Yep.
And the sort of, I guess, embarrassing thing, at least for me, is I myself don't actually listen to podcasts.
I do. Most of my podcasts are comedy based, and it's like on a run, and it's just to like get my mind off of things. So I'm not an avid podcast listener either, right? And I think the best part of this, in my perspective, is we went into it with no intention, and I feel like that's it kind of takes all the expectations and all the things that you think might come of it out of it, and you just kind of purely focus on the moment.
Right.
And that's how it's felt with every person we've had on here. And so
it doesn't feel forced or
right.
that scripted piece of it. Right. I mean, there is something to be said about people, are programmed to crave expectations, like not they what am I trying to say? They appreciate patterns and predictability, right? That's just human nature. Things that deviate from that scare us, just as old brain survivalists. And so having a script that says, all right, this is your opening, this is your intro, this is your this is the closing, so forth and so on, that is helpful. But I struggle with scripted things because they get boring very quickly.
Sure. And I think that format has helped us because we've gone from a conversation that's job focused straight into somebody's hobby or interest, and we sit on that for a bit. And like you said, I'm learning more about these people in this moment than I've had in the last 3 years that I've been here. And that's been fascinating to me. Again, back to the no expectation thing. It's easy to get caught up on who is my listener, right? Obviously, we knew that we wanted to put faces to the people that work here for the community. That's been the whole driving force for this podcast. One thing I wasn't expecting was for other employees to listen to this as well.
Correct.
I knew there would be some interest, but I hear so much when we're out and talking with people, so-and-so listened to this one episode and they loved hearing that person or something like that. That's been a really cool aspect of it as well.
I 100% agree. And, just very candidly, creating this, I mean, the catalyst for it really, from my perspective, is that humanizing aspect. So many people think of the government as this large, untouchable entity, and there's growing distrust, at all levels of government. And we see the people that work here day in and day out, and really commit themselves to this community and to this work. And it's hurtful when people say they don't trust the government, and they're really saying they don't trust the people who are running the government. And so to bring those voices forward so that especially those hecklers, the ones that don't appreciate or don't trust, can hear for themselves that these people are genuine human beings. And they really work. They put this community first. I mean, in every sense of the word. And we haven't interviewed every single employee. And I we'll interview any of our employees because I believe every single one of them, will have that same genuine response. And, I just fundamentally believe they're cut from a different cloth. And so there's that aspect of it for sure. And then I keep losing my train of thought. This is it's that Christmas brain kicking in.
No, you're good.
The humanizing aspect, and then on the other side of it, it's gone now. It literally.
Would it be employee related?
Oh, yes. Thank you. Jeez. This is why we make good hosts together.
That's right. Yeah.
A number of times that I've heard new employees that have said, I went and listened to all the episodes before I committed to applying for a job here.
Right.
So
yeah.
as a recruiting tool, that never crossed my mind.
Yep.
And to add to that, the number of employees that I've heard say, hey, I want to be on that. We've never had a platform where people have voluntarily raised their hand
Yep.
and said, I want to do this thing
Yep.
for communications. Usually it's hey, will you do this? I don't know. Let me think about
Right.
it. But this one is something that, it's inviting the people,
Yeah.
which I'm excited about. I'm glad because there are some really great stories to tell. And this is a great way to do that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And going back to your humanizing aspect of it and your whole thought on trust behind the government, I think sitting here having these conversations with the different people we've had, we've heard stories of, it's coming to my mind, Dante and Paul Yates talking about their experience with a hurricane, like that was a defining moment in their time here.
Absolutely.
And I can think of so many people that would finish that and be like, I don't want to do this job anymore. But 15 years later and they're still here. Right.
Yeah.
And I just think that's so humbling. And then thinking of Chief Johnson's answer to, his rookie story,
Yeah.
and like that just highlights, again, we're all human. There's moments where mistakes are made,
Sure.
and I'm happy we've been able to get those kind of elements out of these people, right?
Yeah.
And just kind of ingrain on that a little bit more.
And I don't know if there's another platform that's capable of doing that.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know?
We could do a video interview or something, but it's one, somebody doesn't want to be on camera, or they talk different about themselves. This just feels very comfortable, you know?
Yeah. And I think the space is comfortable too.
Yeah.
For the listeners at home, you can't see it, but there's a studio at City Hall, and it's half of it's a cedar plank wall backdrop. The other half is sound deadening material, but it's a nice, comfortable little room, and keep the lights just regular temperature and comfy chairs, so everybody's nice and relaxed. And I think it makes for a good setup. We do have a new podcast space coming in the near future, which is going to be very cool.
Yeah.
Which will change the dynamic.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely. And I think in a positive way too. It'll add a level of polish to it that will keep it unscripted, but it'll feel more, it'll feel elevated.
So thinking about that, 1 year in, I can't believe it's already been a year. It doesn't feel like that.
No, it doesn't feel like a year.
Expectations for next year or the future? Anything?
I was going to ask you the same thing.
Yeah.
So my expectations for the future. So sort of in 3 segments, must have, would be nice to have, money's no object, 3 categories.
Right.
So must have new podcast space, because that's a thing we've been working on for a while.
Yep.
And I think we're close to being able to get all moved in there and all set up. Nice to have. I'd like to add a video component, because I think that there's a lot that you potentially miss out on by being able to see those interactions between people.
Right.
So figuring out how to do that, and then like top shelf, real stretch goal, increasing the volume of episodes.
Right.
So, we committed to 1 a month this year. That was challenging at times. But if we could do 2 a month and then someday 1 a week, I would be tickled.
Right.
That would just be the best thing ever. And obviously grow the listener base, all those things. But that I'm less concerned with how many people listen to it, as making sure we produce something that is worthy of being listened to.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So what do you think? What's your vision?
Definitely move into the new space. That's a huge goal for mine. I think that space, like you said, we've been working on it for a while. It's going to fit this format really well. Would love to add a video aspect to it. I feel like lately at night I've been watching these podcasts version on YouTube, so that's what kind of puts me to bed now. Is like I just watch the video version of these podcasts.
And we watch Law and Order SVU.
That's fine. That's fine too. It's between that and Wipeout. It's like, how much do I want to laugh?
Yeah.
So I think that would just add more to the viewership listener based, right?
Sure.
Not that that's the goal or anything, but I just think, more opportunities, right? And then figuring out a way. We currently only have a system for at most 4 people. And we've heard from a few people that they would do it
as a group,
or if they could do it with other people. So figuring out how we do that in the new space, if we could have a group of, employees do the podcast together, I think that'd be cool.
Do you ever think we'd go to a live format? Is that a thing that podcasts do? I don't know.
I don't know, actually.
We could be trendsetters.
Yeah. I'm sure there's some people that do that.
Because it'd be like a live radio show just on our time and our...
Right. I'd be all right with that because, truthfully, there's very little editing on the back end that we're doing here. We're maybe just polishing up some sound bites or something.
I can do it on my own, and that's saying something.
Right. And so, in an essence, we kind of are doing it live, right? There's no expectation from the guests that we have, or, we don't give them anything to prepare for. So
that's a really good point too. And something that's probably makes this special that is worthy of mentioning is we don't prep anybody for this. We do prep work on, the employees. We research a little bit, but
they're not getting a cue card or a question card or anything before they walk in here.
I didn't even consider that. That must be nerve-wracking.
Looking back for most of them, before we even hit record, they're like, what do I expect? I was like, well, did you listen to the other ones? Because it's really anything.
Yeah, I suppose they could go listen to the other episodes.
So, it's a different approach, and I think it's worked out in our favor for sure.
I think it has too, and I'm always curious. I was actually thinking about this the other day, specifically related to the podcast. The amount of resources that are attached to this, because it takes our time to record the episode, my time to produce it. Jasmine's time to build the graphics and push it on social media.
Right.
That's probably one of the easiest things that we do large project wise.
Yeah. Looking at the big picture. Yeah.
And I often wonder, cause I see like, what's that? It wasn't Hugh Jackman. Who's the dude that did the motorcycles across all the way across?
Ewan McGregor.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And like the amount of money just in production to make that a reality.
Right.
That's not a podcast, obviously.
Right.
But I find myself thinking about how do other people do it, and are we punching above our weight class, or are we just kind of, average? Yeah. And at the end of the day, frankly, it doesn't matter, because I think we're confident we're putting out a good product, and the feedback that we're getting reinforces that, right?
Yeah.
We're doing the thing that our department and our individuals are responsible for, which is connecting interested audiences, relevant audiences with good and useful information about the organization. Right.
So I'm glad you ended that thought that way, because my next question, as scary as it might be, negative feedback or, negative optics of the city having a podcast, right? But I feel like what you just said really answers that, right? It is our job to make that connection. Yeah. And this is just one tool of doing that. So
I think about optics a lot, because it's central to the work that we do. Everything that we say, is certainly objective and truthful and transparent. But there's always the opportunity for it to be taken the wrong way, right? Or out of context, or whatever the case may be. I had that thought actually earlier today. Another city in Texas is introducing electric vehicles into their fleet, which is a very progressive thing. And I was more fascinated by it to see what the comments were going to be, right? Because they bought a Ford Lightning, which is $100,000 truck. Yeah. And so I'm probably jaded a little bit in that, like, ooh, that's not going to land well. Right. That's my initial knee-jerk reaction. And that's why I always try to think about that. What is the purpose of that, right? Yeah. That why thing for everything that we do, right? So that we can justify it, right? And so that we know what we're responsible for, and we continually push forward towards that.
Yeah.
We could go into this not really knowing a lot of things because we know what our desired end goal is. We know why we're doing it.
Yeah.
Right. And so as long as we continually build and test and learn and evolve and grow with that focal point, we're doing good.
Yeah.
Right.
Agreed.
I hadn't put words to it like that.
Yeah.
But.
Oh, well said. Well said.
Jinx. I'm going to Coke. What, if you had to do this year all over again, podcast wise, would you do anything differently?
I don't think so. I could say, are we doing everything to promote it the way we need to? Maybe. Yeah. I'm sure there's some missteps there, but I think it adds to the organicness of it. I can't think of anything. You?
I probably would have spent more time on the intro song.
The intro song, yeah.
Or workshop that a little differently.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think I'm pretty pleased with how everything's worked out.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's kind of the artistic piece of it is like we went into it not really knowing, and then every episode, just like a piece of art, is just kind of its own thing.
Yeah.
Right. There no two are alike, and there will never be another one. We'll never replicate it again. Right.
Yeah.
These are all individualized. Right. And so I can't be mad about that.
No,
for sure.
Same. I think we need to find a musician who's an employee here and figure out how they can write. No diss to you.
No. I am not bragging about my GarageBand skills at all.
Oh, man.
I think it serves the purpose.
Yeah.
But I did get feedback from one person, like, you need an end. Like, it just ends.
That is true. We do just kind of cut out. Yeah.
But
okay.
I mean, we say bye.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just wondering if maybe we add it to the mixer and we do it all in the live environment.
Yep.
But, I don't know.
Goals.
I can go back into GarageBand and like record some beats and
do that over winter break,
Yeah.
While you're hanging
I
out,
want one of those little like little fidget
little
things
beat machines. Yeah.
There's something like that. I think I could probably. That's where I get way too confident. Like, I'm like, man, I can do that, and then I can't. My rhythm's just not. I don't have the
That's funny.
Anything else you want to say about the podcast? Anything else you want to cover?
Ooh, this might be a stretch, but someone you want to have on the podcast next year. And because we say them on this episode, they're going to have to be.
They're going to have to do it. Yeah. Yvette Conovey.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that would be a really good one.
She's been around here a while. She probably doesn't want to do it, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Right.
And she's just a fascinating individual.
Yep.
There's a lot of people that I want to have. Don't have Judy Brown on here. I think she'd be a bucket of fun. Officer Z, Nick Palomo.
Fascinating stuff.
There's, a lot of the firefighters. Zach Ward.
Yeah.
Definitely want to get him on here.
For sure.
And then in utilities,
I'm thinking Malcolm.
I was thinking Malcolm. Oh, well, he's drainage, streets and drainage.
Right.
Or right away.
Right away.
Malcolm, definitely.
Yep.
And then in utilities, the whole water production team, Julian and all his crew.
As a team would be so cool.
Yeah. What about you? Who do you think?
I want to get Malcolm on here. I've spent some time with him lately on a video shoot, and I just think he's a awesome guy around the city. And we should try to get Victor down here.
Oh, that'd be a blast.
That'd be great. Yeah.
We haven't interviewed any city managers.
We haven't done a city manager, and I thought that'd be awesome in the new year. Get our new.
We should probably do Trent too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That'd be a good conversation to have.
Let's do the 4 of us.
Let's do it.
All right, cool.
Two comms, 2 city managers. What happens when you put? No, I got to work on that.
Oh, that's funny. Well, that's the wish list for next year. So
right.
we'll see who signs up for it.
That's a list, man. That's good. I bet some of those people will. We'll see.
We'll see. We'll put the emails out there. See.
All right, people of Pearland, thank you for a fantastic year.
Yeah.
And we will see you in 2024.
Yep. Thanks to everyone who was on here, everyone that we got to interview last year. And
that's probably a good idea. Thank everybody.
Yeah. And thanks to anyone who listened. And happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Happy holidays. I don't know the rest of the words.